Hi, this is your narrator, and this is Scotty, or Scott. He's going to be one of the mechanics. And this is Sylvester Perry, or Perry. He's going to be one of the mechanics. You'll also see Jeremy and a couple of other guys. Before you start dismantling the unit, you should familiarize yourself with the things that are in the kit, because you'll be seeing as you dismantle it the changes and the changes in the pieces. We're using the left-hand side as the driver's side, so that's what we're calling left-hand side here. This job at most took, I think, 6 people, and that was to raise the frame. But generally 2 people, 2.5 people can do most of the job. And as we proceed here, you'll see that these guys are still removing shielding and bringing the belt down. Like in here, they're not even actually taking the complete belt off. Because this is for the chopper. And here they are removing the top of the chopper belt shield. And again, they stress this all the time. Make sure that you put the hardware back in the piece so it's there when you go back to put it together.
Them back on, you have to use a tool, a long tool to get up in there, or you'll have to take those covers off, either on top here or underneath to get back in here and put this in.
So you have to make sure that these bolts, it's absolutely essential to put these bolts back in, or these nuts back in place.
Right. And then as we reattach the shield, it's kind of tricky, but you got to get them just right, so you get a tool under here, put them back on, because they're not the easiest thing to get at. I just take them and snug them up. The only time you got to really have to tighten them up is when you put it all back in there and run the machine anyway.
19 on top, 17 bottom. These 2 bolts we're going to remove.
Okay.
And that will release this. We're going to get a forklift in here to pick this up and move it out the way.
On PSD models, you need to remove these doors before you remove the chopper off there.
Putting the hardware back in the strap. Pick it up.
Again, putting the bolt back in place.
Loose. I got to cut this harness loose here and disconnect my hydraulic hoses.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So 2735, removing
Quick disconnect
quick disconnects
on chopper pump.
on chopper pump.
This is the right hand side.
Right hand side, correct.
Then you got to crawl down underneath here, behind the chopper and the spreader. Then there's another quick disconnect on the other hose. Let's see here. Then you got to cut the tie strap. Pull that one back. Route it back, coil it around somehow.
This is staying with the chopper then?
Yep, and I just put it back in the other disconnect.
Oh, okay. So it's just putting it back in the other disconnect just for transport.
Right. Okay. Now I'm going to cut some of these tie straps here. Take off the monitor cable. To remove the chopper, you got to remove these connectors here. This one. Here's that go. There's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like 5 tie straps you got to clip.
Okay.
Remove that. And what you're doing here, you're just cutting this one loose from the shield on the chopper itself, so to free it up. So when you slide this chopper out, that harness is away from it loose. This one here, we're going to disconnect. Pull back out of the way. And just coil back up around the fuel pump area. Just so it's out of the way.
Okay.
Then we're ready to remove these 4 bolts. Okay, there's 3 bolts up in here on this plate. You don't want to take them out if you can help it. You want to leave them in about half thread, just because if they would try to take them out and put them in later, and this plate would move, it's a possibility they could strip the threads on the bolts, and it's real hard to get them back in right when everything's back on there.
So the middle one tends to need a breaker bar, huh?
Yeah, it's just off of being able to get a deep well socket, and you might be able to get a shorter stem socket in with it. You might be able to use a short stem extension with a universal on there. Okay, now we're ready to come back up here. I'll take these 4 bolts loose and hold the rear chopper hood on.
Okay, now that all the bolts are removed, you back it off with the forklift. See, it's very important how that blocking is holding up, keeping it straight as you pull it off. Again, here's where they're replacing the hardware. The bolts for that chopper, he's putting them in place so you can collect them up when you get ready to put the thing back on.
I think those are 11, Scotty.
hardware back in place.
Well, we always just sit right over here and the wheels on it. But that'd be hard too.
Okay.
And unplug it.
Yeah, unplug it, yeah. That's 5242, removing bolts on upper sieve.
Oh, here you are.
The adjustment linkage, let me get it.
Turn it to left or the right.
7 is, this is the upper sieve? Yep. Removing upper sieve. Bolts,
Two.
two bolts, 19.
Release valve, same way, keep them down. Plus you're releasing.
Okay, so we're pulling out the lower sieve.
And we also close it the same way we did the other one. Hold on.
Trying to give us some static one.
We're going to place the hardware with the components.
Okay, now Scotty's opening up the left-hand side gull wing door. Now that door is going to end up needing to be supported, and the actual support is going to need to be supported, because as you take apart more of the shielding, the actual support where that bolt is becomes disconnected. Now they're continuing to remove some of the shielding. They're going to remove the toolbox
That's the support brace for the front shield.
and braces for the front shielding.
Loosen these two front ones up. Just loosen the two front ones up, and then it'll slide right out. Place your hardware back. Always want that hardware to stay in the machine. That way you find that thing in. Okay, let's take the toolbox off next.
Okay.
Put the hardware right in the toolbox. Put the hardware right in the toolbox and leaving it in there.
Keeping hardware with the toolbox. Remove toolbox and set it aside. Fan shield. Removing fan shield still. Okay, that's removing fan shield.
Installing the hardware back.
Putting the hardware back. Okay.
Right here.
Support.
Strap.
Oh, shield strap, okay.
Shield support strap. Place the hardware back.
What door's off?
Front gate
Big
door.
black door here.
Oh, okay.
There's one in the front, one in the back.
510. Right hand side.
Open door.
part of the upper fan shield.
Door.
Just need to loosen it.
Loosen them.
Ladder step. So we'll drop that fan down.
Take the bolt out.
Dropping the ladder.
Bring it toward you. Replace the bolt back in. 19.
It's 19.
Down below.
Sides will pull out.
But it's 17 though. Okay. Take the two out the back. Two washers and a nut goes back on there.
And the 10s all around.
Yeah, 13 here, 10 down around the bottom. 13 with the bracket holding fan. Return the hardware back to the fan. 7 of them. Hardware back in there.
This is a replacement
Right back
door.
on here.
That shield.
Put it right back on there. Remove it.
Okay, so 17, 17.
One thing that we did.
Watch me operate.
Watch your knuckles here on that.
Got
So pull it, it's coming
Oh,
off.
that's fine. Here,
I know.
take that.
These are discard parts.
Take that.
These are discard parts?
These are discard parts.
Yeah, see,
Okay.
there you go.
These need-
Belt too?
Yep.
Okay, now it's so much.
What doors are these called?
These are the rotor doors.
Rotor doors. Okay.
Separator doors, you can call them. Rotor,
concave.
Side separator doors.
Well, concaves, yeah.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bolts.
9 bolts. These are 17s. These are 19s. 17. Now these get put aside for replacement.
Right, these are replacements.
You're lining up the universal.
The
or-
universals. Both universals got to be lined up evenly.
Oh, okay.
When this shaft comes off, this got to line up with this one, and this one lines up with that one. You got to be even when you put it back on the spline. Yeah.
Hear anything have yet?
Yeah, it's been 3 times for him.
No, to each other, the way you fight.
And make sure you watch it when you take these nuts off here.
Before when we drop it.
It'll drop on you. You can take these off first if you want to, and take these off last if you want to, but
Put it in, we use the jack a lot.
do what's best for you.
Need to break that coupling apart.
Yeah. And pull that there. Be right there. We just need right
You
there.
should put this back on
No,
the,
I'm just gonna make sure it stays here.
so you get a time right on
No,
that
I'll make sure.
spline.
I know, but I'll make sure the hardware stays here. Put the hardware back in place. That way you can keep up with it. When you take that off, you got shims in back of it, so you gotta make sure you watch the shims on this pitman arm. You gotta take them off because they gotta be put back on the other arm. So take these little washers, the little shims right off of there. Sometimes it'd be another shim there. It'd be one big one, sometimes, and then it's a little small one
Oh, okay.
is on there. So you gotta take all 3 of them off. I've gotta go back on the new pitman arm that we installed. Okay, next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna drop the fan belly shield. We drop the fan shield, the belly shield, then we drop the fan, then we take these off. Okay.
I'm not arguing with you.
No, you know what I'm saying? That'd be easier. We can get behind there. So we're gonna drop the belly shield, 17. hardware back in the lathe.
Stick both of them back on, and I put the washers and nuts back on.
Okay.
When they were removing this fan assembly, they just rolled this jack in that already had this wooden jig built into it. That's what it looks like. That's what they used, and they were able to use blocking to get it
Put a block
to
up
work.
on the back to hold the back up. So you got to modify the best to take this down with the jack if you got a floor jack like.
And once they had the fan secured, then they started to remove all the bolts.
Pick up on your fan, and you can take the bolts out. But you won't need this.
You won't need it?
Take it off. You won't need this.
I'm taking these two bolts out. It's a clamp that holds these two hoses in place. When I take this clamp off, that'll allow me to move these hoses so I can get in here with a gun to take these bolts loose and hold this fan housing up in the frame.
Gotcha.
I'm going to take this clamp and move it like that.
Okay.
And what that does, that allows me to pull the hoses back so I can get in here with a gun, hopefully, and loosen them bolts up and drop this whole fan out. I've come over here, and with a 13 wrench, there's 4 bolts here, 2 here, and 2 here that are 13 metric. You got to take those out in order to drop this whole piece out, and you slide this out of here. Because what we have to do when we take this out, we have to take this plate loose and be able to pull that